Today we're going to take a few minutes to talk about ISO versus NIST. ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization, and NIST stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology. The more we're going to be hearing in the industries, different industries about cybersecurity breaches, the more of those frameworks you're going to be hearing. So we wanted just to take a few minutes to kind of compare those two frameworks. Let's look at the primary purpose. The primary purpose of NIST Cybersecurity Framework is to develop pretty flexible voluntary guide that might help your organization to manage and reduce cybersecurity risk. Right? It's a guide that will tell you, well, the best practice for your setup is to use multi-factor authentication. It's not only username and password, but also use maybe authenticator app, right, to add a level of security. On the other token, for example, ISO 27001 standard, it's a certifiable international standard for establishing and maintaining an information security management system. So these are the differences. While the NIST is pretty flexible, you can start very small with a small footprint and you can slowly grow in that. In order for you to get ISO certified, you do have to follow all those rigid standards. Structure. NIST Cybersecurity Framework, like we said, it's a set of guidelines or best practices with a focus on outcomes and themes. Right? On the other token, ISO 27001 is a standard with specific requirements that organization must meet to achieve certification. Right? So while the NIST it's a best practice, for example, in order to give access to your employees working from home to access your system, the best practice is to establish a virtual private network. Right? You can make a decision to implement that the way how you would like, but a specific requirement on the ISO standard would tell you these are the requirements that you have to follow in order to implement that. Certification. NIST Cybersecurity Framework does not offer formal certification. It's a framework for guidance. On the other token, while said that, you can invite a third-party company just like us. We can come on your premises and we can confirm that your current posture, cybersecurity posture, is in alignment with NIST Cybersecurity Framework. Currently, it's Framework 2, and we can confirm that you are in alignment. On the other token, ISO 27001 allows for formal third-party certification, which can be costly but demonstrate a high level of security to stakeholders. Let's say if one of your clients is a federal government or it's a military agency, right? So they might require you to obtain that certification. Cost. NIST Cybersecurity Framework is free to access and use. You can download those guidelines and they're broken into different categories. Like let's say, for example, physical security, right? What is the requirement for physical security, right? You have to lock down physical access to maybe server room, right? Or server infrastructure, so nobody can just come in and plug in USB stick, right? And bring malware. ISO 27001 involves a high cost for accessing the standard and for the formal accredited certification process. There's a lot of documentation that needs to be submitted. There's a lot of checkup that needs to be done on premises to confirm that you are ISO compliant. Best fitted. NIST cybersecurity best fitted for organization with the early stages of cybersecurity development or those needing a flexible free-to-use framework, right? So there's no rigid requirement. Let's say you can start with, if you're starting completely just all your users use a single username and password, they all know that username and password, logging into all the computers with the same username and password. This is a very low level of security. Right? With this particular framework, you can download the guide and you can implement central, for example, Active Directory, right? That will authenticate your users. You can create very unique username and passwords for all your users. So if one user leaves the company, you don't have to change the information to make your system less vulnerable, right? Because that user left the company, but you can just disable account for that particular user. On the other token with ISO 27001, it's actually developed with a idea that mature organizations will take advantage and be able to get certified and implement those standards in their businesses to prove to their partners that they achieve that high level of compliance, right? So they not starting small, they already have developed platform, program, or approach that they can modify to get ISO compliant. Implementation with NIST Cybersecurity Framework, it's easier to implement because it's like a guide. You can start somewhere and you can build upon, right? Let's say if you had been using just internet provider router, right, as your firewall, right, which has only basic functionality, you might want to start replacing that or putting it in a bridge mode and installing like Fortinet firewall or Cisco firewall to bring a better protection to your on premises. With ISO 27001, you have a very rigid plan, do, check, act, kind of continuous cycle where you are developing and continue to improve on your cybersecurity posture in your organization. Those are the differences, and if you need compliance with ISO standards or you need a proof that you are in alignment with NIST framework, please reach out to us by sending us an information via email to info@scalable-it.com, or you can call us at 510-692-9242, and we'll be more than happy to start you in that direction. That concludes our presentation. Hopefully you enjoyed and have a great day.